is still standing, the name is still at the top, so Macy's skipping town hasn't quite set in yet, but it will. On this week's front page centerpiece, Macy says goodbye after decades of calling Cincinnati home. Macy's Cincinnati headquarters was largely symbolic, but having a Fortune 500 company in town brings prestige and a massive philanthropic footprint. Macy's charitable arm supports 72 groups around the city. And of course, it's not Christmas downtown without Macy's lighting up the square. Courier reporter Andy Brownfield has been on top of this story from the start. So we brought him back to talk about the future without Macy's with Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer.
Thank you very much. Andy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Did you see this coming? We talk a lot in the office about the future of Macy's because Amazon has really eaten into their business, but did you see this HQ closing coming?
You know, it's kind of hard to say because Macy's Cincinnati headquarters is kind of a vestigial arm of the company from back when it was federated since the 1920s. It moved here in 1945, and Cincinnati was it for federated until the 90s when it opened up in New York City, which makes sense for a fashion retailer. But then slowly over the decades, more and more of Macy's operations did move to New York, so it wasn't a complete surprise that they decided to close the Cincinnati headquarters. But it's still a bit of a shock.
Yeah, so there was some confusion when word got out that this was happening, though, correct?
There was. About 500 people are employed at that building downtown. And it wasn't immediately clear, and Macy's was not great at elucidating this, just what the impact was going to be of moving the headquarters. But, not all 500 of those jobs. In fact, a majority of them are going to stay. They're just going to move to Springdale, where Macy's already does have operations. The company is losing about 30 people from that headquarters. But it's actually a net gain for the Cincinnati region because Macy's is closing its Arizona call center and moving 600 jobs to Mason, where it has another call center.
Right. So, so the employment is kind of a wash. Obviously, some of the jobs will be different, but we're not losing hundreds of people. But Macy's is a Fortune 100 company. Cincinnati's also lost AK Steel and Cincinnati Bell in recent months. What does this mean for Cincinnati? And this is part of what your cover story is about. What does losing Macy's mean for Cincinnati, though?
You know, it's kind of murky because since Macy's is 118 on the Fortune 500 list, and that's no small potatoes. So. It does add kind of a feather in the city's cap to have had that headquarters, and it does, I don't want to say it gives us a black eye, but it certainly does hurt our ability to say, hey, look at all these Fortune 500s we have.
Right.
That being said, Cincinnati still kind of punches disproportionately above its weight in that realm. We do still have the headquarters to 6 Fortune 500 companies. Despite AK Steel and Cincinnati, or Macy's no longer being headquartered here.
Right. So we'll just have to stay tuned and see kind of when, we don't know yet when they're going to close the HQ and when the workers from Arizona are going to come into town, but we'll be keeping an eye on that, and we really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.